The air crackles with celebration. Music swells, laughter echoes through the grand halls of ancient Egypt. King Osiris, benevolent, beloved, watches his people thrive. But in the shadows, a jealous whisper, a plot meticulously woven by his brother, Set. Tonight, at the feast, Set presents his infamous gift, a magnificent chest, crafted to Osiris's exact measure. Everyone marvels. Osiris, unsuspecting, steps inside. The lid slams shut. In our asterisk history, this is where the world shatters. The scream. The panic. The brutal dismemberment that plunges Egypt into an abyss of grief and vengeance. But what if it didn't? What if, in that pivotal moment, a loyal guard, perhaps Isis herself, sensing the tremor of malice, intervened? What if Set's dark design was foiled, his treachery exposed before the ultimate crime was committed? Imagine the chaos. Set, enraged, his plot laid bare, would surely be banished. Exiled to the desolate deserts he embodies, forever a symbol of failed malice, not triumphant evil. And Osiris? He would remain. A living god, a reigning king, his divine breath still filling the lungs of Egypt. This single, averted tragedy would ripple through every facet of Egyptian civilization. First, the afterlife. In our timeline, Osiris's death and resurrection defined the duat, the perilous journey through the underworld. He became Lord of the Dead, the ultimate judge. But if Osiris never died, who would rule the land of shadows? Perhaps, the very concept of death changes. It might not be a fearful transition to a distant realm, but a gentle return to the earth, a cyclical renewal overseen by living Osiris, the god of fertility and rebirth. Death, then, becomes less about overcoming oblivion and more about a natural, peaceful transition within the benevolent cycle of life. The elaborate funerary rituals, the vast necropolises, the intricate spells of the Book of the Dead, they might never reach the same prominence. Mummification, if it exists at all, transforms from a preparation for a perilous journey to a simple, reverent preservation, a testament to a life lived under an eternal king. Now, consider the pharaoh. In our world, the pharaoh embodies Horus, the avenging son, the rightful heir who restores order. His divinity stems from Osiris's legacy, from the cycle of death and rebirth. But in this alternate Egypt, there's no need for vengeance. No need for Horus to reclaim a shattered throne. The pharaohs would likely claim a far more direct, potent connection, not as the successor to Osiris, but as a living manifestation of Osiris himself. An unbroken line. This could lead to an even more absolute, unchallenged divine monarchy. Imagine, a pharaoh whose very presence is seen as the living embodiment of the god who never died. Their authority, their word, would be utterly unassailable. This boundless power, however, could also lead to a stagnation, a lack of innovation. Why question perfection when the divine king reigns eternally? The entire religious landscape would shift. Instead of vast temple complexes dedicated to preparing for the afterlife, perhaps grand monuments celebrating life, fertility, and the eternal reign of their living god-king would dominate the landscape. Justice wouldn't be weighed in the scales of Maat after death, it would be administered by a living, divine authority, swift and absolute. The people would dedicate their lives to honoring Osiris and his divine rule, not out of fear of post-mortem judgment, but out of devotion to their eternally present, benevolent protector. Agriculture would flourish under his direct blessing, and the Nile itself would be seen as a conduit of his living, sustaining power. But would this truly be a utopia? A world without the challenge of death, without the epic struggle of good versus evil embodied by Horus and Set, might lack the very forces that spurred resilience, innovation, and profound spiritual introspection in our timeline. Would an eternal, unchallenged reign lead to a society that never truly evolves? Would the very stability become its undoing, leaving Egypt powerful, yes, but perhaps culturally static, eternally perfect, and yet, strangely hollow? What an utterly different world. A destiny rewritten by a single, averted murder. And what would that truly mean for the destiny of Egypt, and perhaps, the destiny of humanity itself? The implications are endless. Dive deeper into these impossible histories with us. Make sure you're subscribed for more.